Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and every single word you're about to hear is my humble opinion. So I'm looking at the facts on the ground, and I'm interpreting them in the best way that I can, as accurately as I can, and with the most logic that I can possibly apply. And then I'm responding to the facts on the ground with my humble opinion in commentary. Then you get to respond in the comments below or with your own YouTube video, and that's how discourse works. I humbly request your response below or through your own video. Let's go. All right, so today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about MOIRs, Modern Air Raid Wardens. Modern Air Raid Wardens. So what is a modern air raid warden? Well, it is essentially a new rendition of the BOIR, the British air raid warden, which served in World War II. These were British citizens who stepped into the breach and filled the gap that the British military could not fill during World War II. Okay, it was British citizens serving, helping, aiding, doing everything necessary to repel the forces that were invading their nation, and doing it out of the goodness of their own hearts with the training they had, right? And I think it's the model for what is going to be needed specifically in July of 2024. So I am predicting now that Vladimir Putin will invade the United States of America on July 1st, 2024, using his air, land, and sea forces that he is using right now, which of course he will bolster, which he's using to invade Europe right now, right? Basically, I think he's going to extend out of Europe, and he's going to attack America directly with literally the same forces, reinforced over another 2 years, and I think he's going to come and invade America. Once that is understood, there needs to be a solution, right? Now, where would that solution come from? Before March 2020, I think most Americans would understand logically that the solution would come from the U.S. government, right? Or that the U.S. scientific community, right? Either one of those institutions that has aided us in the past. However, in America, March 2020 changed all of that for us, right? So right now, America is under one of the worst bouts of inflation it has ever seen, right? In addition to that, America is raw and damaged from 2 years of waiting for the scientific community to supply real solutions in a logical manner. And what has happened over the last 2 years is we've seen that our institutions, our government, our military, and our scientific community will absolutely drumbeat fail us in every possible direction, right? And that waiting for solutions from them does not work, right? We get answers that are not correct. We get massive resources that can solve problems that are benched and are not allowed to perform the actions that are needed in order to end aggression in the world, right? And we also, our government itself on the economic front, 2016 to 2022 was one of the most robust periods of economic growth in the history of America, right? And all of that has been thrown out by the current administration, replaced with outlandishly expanding inflation. So the reality is, Americans are now realizing if we are going to be safe, we have to do it ourselves. Now, who are the people who are on the front lines of making sure America is ready for Vladimir Putin's invasion of the United States of America with the same land, air, and sea forces that he's using to invade Europe right now, right? That's the American Dungeon Master. The American Dungeon Master is the last great hope of America for a solution to actually be in place when it is needed in July of 2024. So how can the American Dungeon Master help? Well, they can build MOIRs in their games, all right? And so how would they do that? So they can build a modern air warden. They can build an American citizen who has the willingness and the capability to repel aggressive, dangerous military forces. Britain already showed the model for this, and air raid wardens were used to repel, protect, and aid British people when aggressive, dangerous forces invaded their country, right? And so America already has the model built for us, the BWAR. We now, dungeon masters, are in a position to create moirs, right? Now, how would an American dungeon master build a moir? Okay, first of all, American dungeon masters are quite unique, right? They are uniquely self-selecting at the macro level, not at the exception level. They are uniquely self-selecting for charismatic, intelligent, and confident. Those are all the basic ingredients of leadership. And American Dungeon Masters are role models at the macro level, and there are American Dungeon Masters who understand that they're at the macro level. American Dungeon Masters are leaders, and they are role models, right? Every American Dungeon Master has 4 to 8 to 20 people who are learning lessons from them, IRL and fantasy, right? And so the reality is the American Dungeon Masters can right now begin to build Dungeons and Dragons games that will instill the idea that their players are brave, noble people who have the ability to repel aggressive, dangerous forces in their nation, right? They can build that emotional and intellectual courage, right, in them now through Dungeons and Dragons, okay? In addition to that, they can then very tactically and practically give them lessons from the Dungeons and Dragons fantasy game, right? From each campaign, each session, they can give them practical and tactical information on provisioning forces, right? On positioning forces, on how to use practical, real weapons in a way that's safe and productive, right? And all of this can be done with the current Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game. And the reason why is, without exception, the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition game is the most powerful, productive, useful combat simulation system that has ever been built in the history of humanity, right? And we can leverage Dungeons & Dragons to get people emotionally and intellectually ready to repel dangerous, aggressive forces that will invade their nation. And we can give them practical information about how forces are positioned, about how logistics are properly done, about provisioning, about keeping morale up, about sending intelligence from one end of a landmass to another end of a landmass, how resources are garnered and used for war, right? And we can do this at the unit level, at the personal combatant level, and at the army level, because Dungeons & Dragons is built, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, unlike any other version that's ever been created, is perfectly provisioned to handle combat at all of those levels. That's my opinion. What's yours? Love to hear it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.